Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Caregivers, brought to you by the National Foster Parent Association. Um, I'm coming to you from Austin, Texas today, where it's bright sunshine. Supposed to be about 103 this afternoon, which it has been for the last week. Um, so hot weather, but beautiful days, and we've had enough rain. To still have flowers growing in our flower beds, and the grass is green. So life is good when I look out my window. Um, Wanted to touch base a little bit with you this morning about the last episode where I talked about my behavior, how I'm responding to the stresses, the uncertainties, the pressures of living and working during this pandemic. And also, then, as the unrest in the country is growing for many other reasons as well. And, I shared with you some frustrations I've been having about dealing with other people and how I'm responding. I'm not happy with myself with my responses. I'm typically a very positive person. I'm always the one with the glass almost full. I just see life that way. My husband's the opposite. He's like, it's always half empty kind of thing. And so we are able to balance each other out. But given this time right now, it's kind of been like, we're not doing that very well anymore either. There's just a lot on our plates that we don't know how to handle or express very well because it's not a part of what we normally experience. And I know many of you are going through that as well. Well, after that episode, a friend of mine here from the Austin area called and said, Irene, can you come out of your building and meet me in the parking lot at whatever time? I got something for you. So I said, okay, I can do that. So I went out, and here's what she brought me: a new cup. I'm not responsible for what my face says when you talk. Boy, does that appropriate for me. So many times over the last couple of months on virtual calls where everybody's looking at one another, we can see each other and we're kind of watching for body language and rolling eyes and all those things. I wish back for like just free conference call or, conference calls where everybody was on a phone and we weren't looking at each other and making judgments necessarily about what people are saying and how they're saying it. But reality is we're dealing in a virtual world now. I don't see that's going to change a whole lot because I think it's being very, very good in many, many ways. And so I think we're going to continue to do a lot of virtual work in the future, even though we may go back to some of the more traditional things that we do um, in person, certainly, I hope, and in groups. So anyway, I'm not responsible for what my face does when certain people say certain things. And I'm trying really hard to watch that as well and not be quite so expressive, but I tend to be pretty expressive with my face and my hands. So here's hoping that this works. Okay, we're going to get down to business right away. Got an awesome guest today. I've known about this woman for a long time. Served on some work groups with her, I think, and some committees over the years, and certainly peripherally, we work with people that we both respect and enjoy working with. But it's the first time that I'm actually going to be having an opportunity to have a face-to-face, so to speak, visit with her and learn more about her, and a venture that I think is going to be very, very interesting to everyone, and maybe we'll plant some seeds for future growth for other states and how they're handling certain things for kids that come into care. So I'd like to introduce to you Leigh Esau. There she is. And she is coming to us from the awesome state of Nebraska. In Nebraska is Foster Parent Adoptive Parent Association is one of our lead states and has been for many years in our Council of State Affiliates and have wonderful leadership there. And we seem to have a really good working relationship most of the time, which many states can't even say, with their state government and the people and the organizations and agencies that run their foster care and child protection systems. So, Leigh, I want you to introduce yourself, tell us about your cup, and then talk to us about the foster care closet.
Sure. Well, thank you, first of all, for hosting me. I appreciate this opportunity to share with fellow foster parents, adoptive parents, those who are in the trenches, and those who are on the other side of the trenches and now able to reach back and help their peers. Today, my cup, let's see, get it raised up here. This is my cup. This is the very first, this is from the very first dishes that my husband and I got after we got married. We got married at 18 and 19, and we just celebrated 36 years. Yeah, I've had it ever since. I have never found a dish pattern that I like better, so I haven't found a husband I like better either. So,
well, that's very good. We're actually going to be celebrating. Well, we celebrated 52 years this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, in July, and I was 18 as well when we got married. He was 20. It just had his 24th birthday. So we've got some age difference between us, but yeah, I was young.
Yeah.
Married after my freshman year in college, and was a life-changing experience, but one too that I would never want to not have done again. I said, if I had a choice, I might have waited a couple of years just to get a little bit of adventure out of me, but I would marry him again in a heartbeat. And so it's always nice to visit with other people who have the same commitment. Lots of things falling apart nowadays, so it's good to have the reassurances of strong, committed marriages.
Well, we met when we were in high school, so we actually dated for 3 years. I graduated in May, got married in August, and here we are 36 years later. So just the same. I mean, he's my best friend. I do everything with him. So, and we grew up together with the help of his parents. His parents did a lot of life lesson teaching for us, and that was awesome.
Yeah, when my parents were talking about what kind of a wedding present to give us, they were a little concerned that I was getting married, even though I had been in college a year already. I was 18, and I'm thinking, okay, and they wouldn't tell me what they were going to give us, and I didn't have a lot of money or anything, so I knew it wasn't going to be anything big. But what I got was a sewing machine, and it made such perfect sense because my mother was one who said, taught my brother and I to be self-sufficient from the first day I think we were born. And when I was 9, I started sewing. By the time I was 13, I had to sew all my own clothing. And, so that was just like a godsend to us because we didn't have any money either, right?
Right.
And, but back in the day, we could still get material and sew whatever we needed. So I sewed bathing suits. I sewed my husband's winter jackets. I sewed everything because that's what we needed to do. But I always thought over the years what a smart wedding present that was from my parents because it really did help us survive for years.
Well, I'm sure my husband's parents suddenly felt like they had 2 teenagers that they were instead of just the one they signed up for. So anyway, my family is a family of 6 kids. My oldest son is 30 and he is married. He lives here in Lincoln. My second oldest son is 28. He also lives here. So I have all my kids around me and my beautiful daughter-in-law. And then We adopted 4 out of the Nebraska foster care system simply because they were unable to return home. So we have a 14-year-old son, 2 13-year-old daughters, but they are not twins. There is 6 weeks and 2 days between them, so they might as well be twins, but they're not blood related. And then our youngest is 12, and he is also a son. So our hands are busy. And then, of course, because that's never enough. I mean, any foster parent knows that just fostering's not going to be enough. So back in 2006 is when I began the foster care closet. So,
well, I'm excited that you're going to be able to tell us about, how that started, the why of it, and then how it's gotten to where it is today and the sustainability of it.
thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to get to share. So the foster care closet really began out of a need. And I bet if you poll your audience, the vast majority would be raising their hands if I were to ask how many times kids came to their door with just the clothes they had on. And and then you never know exactly how long you're going to have them. And you want to do the right thing for them. And that is part of that process is restoring dignity back into a very undignified situation. And so you don't always want to have to run to the Goodwill or the Salvation Army or ask for hand-me-downs. You want to be able to provide for them the same way you would if you were bringing a new baby into the home. And so we began the foster care closet like many people all across this country. There's really nothing special about that in regards to we began taking in the donations of clothing, and I had a great relationship with the Department of Health and Human Services here in Nebraska. And part of that was due to the relationship I had with Nebraska Foster and Adoptive Parent Association. Felicia Nelson, who now is the director for us, she and I go way back. And, she helped me navigate through some rough waters back when we were first fostering, and because of that learned how to develop those relationships with the state of Nebraska. And so we were fortunate that the state of Nebraska wanted to work with us in regards to letting families know we're there. It didn't always have to be word of mouth from one foster family to another, but we could have the state was helping us get the word out as well. And then it just began to evolve from there because, again, it's about bringing dignity into the whole process. And so there was a point in time where the state of Nebraska went through a privatization model. And now Nebraska is different from many states in that they do have a minimum clothing requirement that foster parents are to maintain during the time that they have a foster child. And that first allotment of the clothing is to be provided through the state for that. And when Nebraska decided to try to privatize, the agency, one of the lead agencies, we approached them and we let them know we could really help them stretch those clothing dollars because, one, we were a nonprofit, and so there was an opportunity for places to donate to us as well as for us to raise private funding to serve more kids. And two, we could buy things when they were on clearance and hold on to them so that we were prepared to serve that kiddo when it was time, when that season was in place. And so they decided that they would give us an opportunity to show what we could do. And, through the grace of God, we were able to do way more than what even we thought we could do. But the privatization piece did not work out for the state of Nebraska for many reasons. Um, and so when it went back into the hands of being overseen by the state, I went back to them and approached them and just said, I have a way that we can help serve those kiddos who are first entering into foster care with the full minimum allotment of clothing, which in Nebraska is 5 outfits. And we can do it on the same dollar that you currently issue in the form of a clothing voucher. And with that, we're able to provide accountability for how all of those dollars are used. And we can also show exactly what the kiddo got because they come in and shop at our location just like they would a store. The other cool thing about it is that instead of a voucher being issued to a particular store and all of the dollars were to be spent in that one store, we have a partnership with many retailers. So they have an option of getting a Rue 21 shirt and an Old Navy shirt and then Walmart socks or whatever, right? It's not all just Walmart or all an off-brand store. So that was the beginning of our collaboration with the Department of Health and Human Services here in Nebraska. Now, one of the things that has led to, and we're going to pull that up here and show you kind of what we're talking about, is we do not believe foster care should start in a cubicle. But if you think about it, that's exactly where the foster care journey begins for for almost any kid who enters. And so we want to be about changing what that looks like. And this is what I'm really passionate about, is our foster haven service that we provide. And the reason that it is a huge passion of mine is because I was once one of those kids that entered foster care and entered with nothing. And I spent the first 7 years of my life in foster care. So I've had the unique privilege, the unique honor of seeing foster care as being a person who experienced it and a person who fostered and a person who's adopted, as well as being an adoptee myself. So I've really kind of seen foster care from every possible vantage point other than being a case manager at this point of my life. And so we're passionate about restoring dignity to kids in crisis as they're entering foster care. So what we developed was a program. If we want to go to the next slide. We have a model. This is what our current Lincoln location looks like. And our model is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the time. There's never a break because we never know when a kiddo is going to need to come into foster care. So what we want their first experience to be is to be something that speaks healing to them. We want to stop the trauma of kiddos experiencing those first hours of foster care as quickly as we can. So by bringing them to our location, we're bringing into the picture some normalcy, if you will. The first thing we do, we welcome that case manager in and we welcome those kiddos in. And they're never a surprise to us. We've been waiting for them. And the first thing we do is we feed them. And then after we've gotten everybody fed, then they go shop for their 5 new outfits of clothing. So it's preparing them. It's helping them transition into foster care instead of just feeling thrown into foster care. And if you, in that picture, you'll see that there's a green wall with some plexiglass windows. And that's there because that gives our case managers the opportunity to see everything that's going on, but they can make those phone calls that have to get made, the stories that have to be told, and our kiddos are not overhearing those conversations.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, we're not
Awesome.
continuing to traumatize them over and over as they hear that story be told to another stranger or to a relative. And they're not hearing the rejection of,
Yeah.
no, I can't take that kiddo in. So this is what we believe foster care should look like for our kiddos, for our case managers. One of the things that I don't think we give enough thought to is that many of our case managers are in the midst of that same crisis. And they're not, they're in their mid 20s to early 30s. And so if we can help them have a place that's safe for them to do the job they need to do and not have to hear another worker who's got somebody screaming at them or trying to, wrangle a 3-year-old who's running up and down the halls and stuff. We can provide an environment that allows them to be able to do the job they need to do. They can do it better. And they can take the time that they need to find the right placement instead of just a placement. And so we want to be treating them with dignity. And then, of course, the backside of all of this is that you and I, as foster parents who've welcomed children into our home, we know that if they've come through the foster haven, they're prepared to move into our home. They have things to call their own. So when I show them their room, guess what? They get to put things away. They're not like, well, this is nice, great bed, but I still don't have shoes, socks, or underwear to change into tomorrow. So, yeah, whatever. And if they don't want to eat, you don't have to worry about, well, when was the last time they ate? Because they've eaten with us. And so if they don't like what you've made for dinner or they're not ready for that type of an environment yet, you don't have to worry about them starving or being hungry and afraid to eat. So that's all up front in those very first hours that we're bringing a kiddo into care.
Yeah, I've seen this actual slide before and knew a little bit about the setup, but I really appreciate the way you've explained it today. I have a much even more appreciation for what y'all have set up there and a better understanding of the why. Um, this is doable. This is doable everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes leadership. It takes somebody that likes to be an advocate to go out there and knock on the doors and talk to the people who can help make it happen. And now we've got the perfect example of who that is. And I am sure that you'd be helpful if somebody wanted to reach out to you at some point because they really got a burning passion to do this. Now you'd be able to find some time to talk with them a little bit about it and what the situation is in their state and what options they might have or where they might go. I have a question. So I know in Lincoln you have this, and there's not a lot of big population centers in Nebraska because of the ruralness of so much of the state. Do you have other foster havens and closets in other towns, or is
Yeah, we actually are just in the process of opening a new one in Beatrice. But we also have locations in North Platte, Kearney, and Scotts Bluff.
Okay.
And then one of the really cool things that's happened for us is a couple of years ago, we had someone donate a full-size 63 passenger school bus to us. And one of the local companies has taken that on as a project to remodel. And so we're hoping in the spring of 2021 to have that fully up and running. And we will actually have a mobile foster care closet where we can go to areas where there isn't a closet at, because Nebraska is a very rural state.
Yes.
And we want to serve as many kids as we possibly can.
Oh, that's exciting. That's really exciting.
If we
So
go, I'm sorry.
who helps? I mean, how do you get, are the people that go and work in these at the Haven and the closets, are they volunteers? Are they, who are they?
So it's a combination. Because of the public-private partnership we have been able to develop with the state of Nebraska, we do have some paid staff. So for all 6 of our locations, or 5 of our locations, I'm sorry, all 5 of our locations, we have a total staff of 4 full-time and 3 part-time.
Okay.
So it's very minimal. And so we do rely a lot on our our volunteers to help support us. I'm sorry, these, um, and so that's, I mean, we couldn't do what we do if we didn't have great volunteer support around us in each of our locations. And when you spoke to it being very doable, I wanted to just show this to people who are thinking about, well, what does this really look like? This is really the steps of how a kiddo enters into the foster care world. And in most of these, the kiddo enters youth and they arrive at the home. So you miss steps 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And here, it's a matter of they get a hold of us, they bring them to our location, they are fed, they shop for the new clothing. The case managers are able to make those phone calls, like I talked about, in an atmosphere where it's relaxing for them as well as the kids, and it's not re-traumatizing them or continuing to traumatize them. Then the case managers are able to put the kiddos in the right home at the very beginning. Hopefully, a goal is to keep the siblings together, right? Because we want to be about keeping those units together as much as possible. And so one of the biggest factors that plays into those decisions is I've got somebody who said yes to the 3-year-old, and I've got 2 teenagers, and it may take all day for somebody to say yes to them, right? And this allows them, they have 23 hours of time that they can stay continuous at our location. And so they have an entire day to work on finding a home that will say yes to all 3 or 4 kiddos. And then again, at the end, they're arriving at the home prepared to transition into that foster care. So it's really that simple.
Wow. Makes so much sense when you see it laid out, and the I don't want to say inhumanity, but I guess that's the right word, inhumanity of oftentimes what happens now. We treat the kids like they're not even present.
Right. And
You know,
really important about the clothing side of things is that our kiddos are shopping for their own clothing. We've had teenagers who've actually just sat and cried because it's the first time they've been allowed to shop for themselves, and it's new clothes. All of the clothing is new. And so that's very gratifying when you can meet a kiddo with the needs that they want instead of what an adult has decided, because so much of foster care is all based off of the convenience for the bio family and the convenience of a case manager and a convenience of a foster parent. But very few times is it ever thought about, well, what's this mean to our kiddo? How does our kiddo view or experience this? And so our whole focus begins with meeting what the needs of the kiddo are.
Right. It's beautiful.
And these are just some more pictures of how we have our haven set up.
It's so attractive, colorful, and yet soothing at the same time. I've been looking at the color scheme, and it's really enjoyable to look at and soothing. So I don't know who did the color selections and things, but really kudos to the folks who've set this up. It's awesome.
Yeah, we had an interior designer, a friend of mine, helped us put this together, and she was just remarkable. She has since passed away, so that was really hard. But I get to live in a space that she designed. I get to see that every day, and so it's like getting to just hold on to her memory every time, and it's great. I love when people talk about how well it's put together, because she just did a phenomenal job with that.
She did. So tell me a little bit more about the volunteers and the types of things that you utilize them for, and kind of like what times they work as opposed to the times you can have a staff person there, and which certainly can't cover 24 hours. So
Right.
how do you find volunteers that you can trust to
Well,
do this work?
the first we have for lack of a better term, we do have a business model that we follow. We have some core values built into who we are. So when we're looking for, whether it's somebody who's looking to be paid or somebody who's volunteering, we vet them according to the core values that we hold as an organization. So things that our volunteers really help us with are things like our website. They help us manage our inventory. We have been able to develop relationships with wholesale retailers, so we're able to do more bulk purchasing, as well as utilizing local retail stores. And so part of what we're able to provide to the state of Nebraska is a detailed report of how their dollars were spent. For the dollars that they gave us, how did we manage those? And we want to be excellent stewards of any donations or any finances that we get. And so we're able to track all of that. But we couldn't do it if we didn't have the volunteers helping us sort and put things in order. As you can kind of see behind me, I'm at home due to COVID. And so we've kind of set our basement up as a warehouse thing to keep moving forward with inventory. And so they help with that. They will help us when we have an intake. They may help us by getting a meal, or they may help us by bringing in a meal. Oftentimes, the first meal will be something that's more along the lines of a fast food place, because that's kids' comfort food, right? And so the first thing we want to do is help them be comfortable. If they're going to be with us for an extended period of time, then the second meal, we often will reach out using our Facebook page, and we'll ask for volunteers to provide, like a lasagna dinner or a spaghetti dinner or something like that. So it has a little more nutritional value than another round of nuggets, right?
Right.
So our volunteers are also crucial in helping us get donations of things that we don't normally carry. So those bigger items like car seats or cribs or strollers, things like that. Right now we have a young lady who's going to be starting her first job, and she needs pants, dress pants for that. And so we will be using our Facebook to either get a gift card or have someone donate in some pants for her for that. So they're used all over in many ways. Of course, we have prayer support partners who take time just to be lifting the closet up, as well as any kiddos that we have the honor of serving. So there's lots of ways that our volunteers play key roles in our success.
Well, Leigh, thank you so much. Do you have some closing comments for us, because our time is about up?
Sure. If we want to go to the very last slide, I think it's slide 12, that we can pop that up there real quick.
Okay.
That will give people contact information.
Awesome.
On how to get a hold of us if they're interested in wanting to begin conversations and looking at our model to do the work in their state. If not, I can certainly make sure that you have it, Irene. And
well, Sean's got it, and he'll post it to the comment section or something.
But I want to say thank you, first of all, to all of the foster parents who are out there doing the hard work in those trenches. I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing. I hope that you are encouraged in knowing that the community does care about you, and the community does want to figure out a way to help. This puts some parameters around that. So when somebody's saying, how can I help? Now here's a central location that can be developed so that everybody knows this is the place to go and donate or volunteer to help support those who have said yes to taking kiddos in their home. And then, Irene, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share my story and the work that we're doing. So thank
Well,
you.
I'm thrilled that we were able to do that. I know we talked about it probably more than a month ago, and we're finally able to get you scheduled. So thank you for spending some of your very precious time with us and with all of those who are following us on Facebook.
Mhm.
I'd like to remind everybody that, if you miss an episode, these episodes are loaded onto our website, nfpaonline.org, and there you go, /coffee, and you can go back and watch any of our archived episodes. So, if you know somebody who maybe isn't watching, or somebody who would enjoy some of the information that we're able to provide, please let your friends and neighbors know about that, so they can become involved too. And as we close, I found some things that I'm going to read 2 or 3 of them because I've got a lot. But I get this news feed every day, and sometimes it'll have the funniest things that, conversations between parents and kids this last week or whatever, or between husband and wife. Those are really hysterical, but sometimes they're a little risque. But I've got a couple of them here about parents and kids. And they're just wonderful. And I want to close our show today with some of these because they're very positive, and I hope everybody, even in a better mood, to go on to their day. One of them is a mom, and she says, you could make dinner for a toddler, or you could just cut out the middleman and throw away a plate of food and squirt ketchup on the dog. She's on her last nerve, right? And then here's a Ohio mom for 2, says, me before I had kids. My kids will eat what I put in front of them. Me this week, peeling the breading off of Wendy's chicken nuggets because it's too spicy. So the 3-year-old will eat it. You learn, you change. Kids do that to us. Another one, there's little difference between how a horse eats hay and the way my children consume spaghetti. This one's from a dad. He says, his daughter's saying, I don't want that for dinner. Dad says, well, what do you want? Daughter says, noodles. Dad says, this is noodles. Daughter says, I don't want that. Dad, I don't know where to go from here. You won't eat her noodles. And another one, when I want my kids to eat something, the best chance I have is to put it on my plate, where apparently food becomes immediately appetizing. That happened so many times. That one really tickled me. Here's one. Family dinners are fun because we start out as a family of 6. And then after everyone gets in trouble for acting out, it's a dinner for 2. I mean, some of these are priceless. And I think here's my favorite one. I've had too many kids like this. Son, what's for dinner? Dad, fish. Son, so dad says, son screaming, starts hyperventilating, loses all control, begins to break from reality. Then son suddenly stops. Wait, have I had fish? Absolutely priceless what these kids say, with their parents, but they're funny because they're real. I mean, these are happening every day. And so watch for that with your family and for your kids, and maybe share some of those really priceless moments that happen. And sometimes we're too consumed with everything else to even realize how priceless they are, and how funny. And then the other thing is, I have another little slogan that I want to tell y'all, because I try to end with one of those every day too. It's like, the key to being happy is having something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And that's a truth. And so if we can always make sure we have something to look forward to, that our children and those we love do, and then certainly all those that we can share kindness with, and help them understand that there is a good life ahead. Sometimes it just takes a crooked road to get there. So thank you, Leigh, again, for sharing your time and certainly your talents, and your story with us today. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Stay healthy and safe.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at United Healthcare. For more information about United Healthcare, please visit www.uhc.com.